Dead deal, dead market. As Amazon pulls out of its plan to build a headquarters in Long Island City, New York's real estate market grapples with the aftermath. With the prospect of 25,000 new jobs gone, those who eagerly bought apartments based on the tech giant's arrival now want out. Could this dead deal leave Long Island City with a dead market? Here with more on this is Amir Karangi, founder of the real estate media company, The Real Deal. Amir, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So first, I want to start with, for those of us who haven't driven through Long Island City, maybe haven't been to Queens recently, just give us a quick lay of the land of what are we talking about with Long Island City?
Long Island City was the industrial part of Queens, right? It's on the East River. It's home to Queensbridge, which is the largest public housing projects in the Western Hemisphere that actually has a GDP $10,000 below the poverty rate compared to the rest of the country. So, those people are especially going to be affected by this. It's very devastating for them. There was supposed to be 1,500 of the jobs that was supposed to go to that community alone, and now those jobs are no longer available for them. So in the short term, it's very devastating for the real estate, for the community, and we'll see what the effects of it are in the long term. I feel like the politicians involved are really going to have to pay at the polls for what happened here.
Well, so you sort of gave us an idea of with there being an industrial part of the city. I'm just trying to get also an understanding of how much affordable housing, because that seemed to be a real point of contention, was that people who were living in that area were saying, we're going to get priced out, we're going to get displaced.
Right. So, I mean, all the new housing that has gone there, it's 80-20 housing. So since the zoning changed, I don't know, I think about 6-7 years ago, there's been a boom of glass towers that have gone up in Long Island City, and those towers were not competitive housing for people who lived in the area. It was housing for people who lived in the city and that wanted something a bit more affordable. So that housing wasn't really stock that was for the community necessarily.
So more like luxury condos.
It was luxury condos, and it was not competitive for that neighborhood. It was, a one bedroom was going for several $1,000s, which is, not what you expect to get when you're in Queens or in Long Island City for that matter.
Okay.
But that's really changed. I mean, if you drive through Long Island City today, outside of, those glass towers that are mostly on the waterfront, it's still a very industrial part, it's very industrial still, so.
With a lot of office space and stuff like that?
There is, there's a good amount of office space there. There's been more that's being built there, but there's roughly around 13 million square feet of office space there, which is, larger than, Oklahoma City and Kansas City combined, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then when Amazon announced that they were coming, and of course we were hearing all these stories that people were bidding on apartments sight unseen and bidding wars and $300,000 over an asking price, and what happened?
Well, there's a great value that comes with a company like Amazon. When Amazon comes to, or any company that size comes to a neighborhood, there's a boom effect. That happened with Google. Google, a lot of people don't talk about this, but Google is the same size as Amazon, maybe slightly smaller, maybe slightly larger. But they have several million square feet right here in Manhattan. And they didn't have to deal with any of this stuff, And when they went to the meatpacking district, now maybe you could say it was Google, maybe you could say it was other things that happened in the meatpacking, but they really had a tremendous impact on that part of town, and that was in Manhattan, And Long Island City, Queens could have definitely used Amazon in Long Island City.
So now what becomes of, so many people immediately were jumping on apartments and condos, et cetera, and plans were being made. What happens to some of those contracts that might be signed?
The whole scope of it was, the whole range was so short that, real estate deals don't happen that fast unless you're doing stuff, you're buying stuff in, by cash. But I think it's too soon to tell if those people who jumped in and what happened to them. But the people who jumped in fully knew what they were getting into, especially if they were trying to, jump in on an opportunity that wasn't fully baked.
So then, given that we see that Amazon is now no longer going to be in Long Island City, and they've said no to New York overall, do we know what becomes of the Queens market now? Does it collapse on itself? Do we see perhaps some other kind of investment that would allow for the people who are already living there to be able to stay, or what happens?
It was a real boom, and people, especially in the area, the restaurants, the businesses in the area, were very happy. I mean, people talk about the 25,000 jobs that Amazon was going to bring to the area, but there was another 15,000 jobs that were supposed to come as a result, indirectly as a result of it, which would have been great for the community there. But again, it's too soon to tell. I don't think it's going to collapse on itself. It's going to continue to grow. There's 220,000 businesses in New York City. New York City is still the greatest talent pool in this country and probably in the world. And you know, the jobs that Amazon was bringing to Long Island City, on average, it was supposed to be $100,000 plus jobs that they were bringing. So it would have really helped the area in a positive way. But you know, I don't think it's going to be the end of anything for New York City. It's a chink in the armor, but that's about it.
Just to circle back, though, to the issue of displacement, because that seemed to be a real concern for the residents of that area, was that with this kind of an economic boom, yes, there'll be, you know, taxes, revenues, and yes, there'll be all these new jobs, but we're going to be displaced.
Displacement happened when zoning changed, and already it was an industrial part of Queens, right? It wasn't Long Island City was all manufacturing, right? So it wasn't like entire neighborhoods or communities like Bed-Stuy or you know, Flushing or things like that, neighborhoods like that that already had an element and a neighborhood there. Long Island City was a manufacturing area where people worked in. They went there to work. They went there to build things. It wasn't like, you know, what little community was there was. It wasn't worth losing. Whatever the arguments for the affordable housing in that area are, it wasn't worth losing everything that Amazon was going to bring to the city and to that area. And the people who are most impacted by it are the people of Queensbridge, right, who were supposed to get 1,500 jobs. I mean, if anybody was supposed to complain about Amazon coming, was that community. And they wanted Amazon in the area because Amazon was going to provide at least 1,500 jobs for the people of that community. And they're furious.
All right. Well, of course, we'll be looking to see how this plays out in the long term. Do you think that there's any hunger in the market, at least for Queens, for just affordable housing and not luxury housing?
Well, I think there's always a need for affordable housing in this city. It's a shame that we can't figure it out. It's a shame that we can't figure out a lot of things in this city because we're one of the wealthiest cities in the world, and we can't figure out our education. We can't figure out our affordable housing. But those are things we're constantly moving towards. And luckily, there's a constant healthy debate on both sides, you know, trying to move forward with it.
All right. Well, listen, Amir, I want to thank you so much for giving us some insight and understanding as to what happened, especially with the real estate angle. That's such a big part of New York's economy and what we can hopefully expect to see on Long Island City.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.